I just finished Three Men on the Bummel. And I liked it. That's probably not a surprise since I also like Three Men in a Boat. But the thing is, why did I like it? Well, that's complicated. Yeah, the thing is, at first I actually thought I liked this book more than Three Men in a Boat. Usually sequels are worse. For instance, Ghostbusters 2, The Matrix Reloaded, Go Set a Watchman. But for the first few chapters, this book really was better. I mostly read during lunch in the lounge at my job, and I couldn't help but be the lone weirdo in the corner laughing to himself. And I was fine with that. It takes a lot to get me to laugh out loud, and I was thrilled this book was doing that. At least for the first 5 or 6 chapters. After that, I noticed I had trouble staying awake at lunch while reading this. I was struggling to keep my eyes open. Literally, I was doing that thing where I would nod off and then suddenly jerk my head up as I realized I was losing consciousness. I think we've all been there. Anyway, my attention wandered after such a strong start to the book. I think the problem with Three Men on the Bummel was that, in comparison to Boat, this book was pretty disjointed. When reading Three Men in a Boat, it felt like I was on the riverboat journey with them. I understood where they were going and how they were getting there. The stuff that happened while getting there was funny. Bummel lacked that journey feel. The story began with how these guys were going to convince their wives to let them go on a trip with their friends, but without their families. And everything was fine in that section as I understood how the story was progressing. I guess Bummel started to break down for me once the three guys actually set out on their journey. And I guess this comes down to my ignorance of what a bicycle tour was. I expected that they would be literally riding their bicycles through Germany. They would go from city to city, riding the roads and camping along the way, sort of like that journey on the Thames in the first book. Instead, though, a bicycle tour means you ride from city to city by train or coach, and when you arrive in a city, then you ride your bike around it to take in the sights. Maybe you go from the city to some of the outlying smaller towns. And that really confused me. That, to me, just seems like taking a vacation touring Germany. I wouldn't call that a bicycle tour. So, I think because of that confusion, I couldn't really follow what was going on in the book for quite some time. They were in this city, they were in that city, they saw this, they saw that. For the midsection of the book, I think I just got frustrated and bored, and that's probably why I kept falling asleep while trying to read this. It does pick up for the better in the last few chapters, though, and so I was able to enjoy the ending. I did learn all of the stereotypes about Germans have not changed in the last 120 years. I really have to wonder, how long did Germans have this reputation for being ruthlessly efficient, militaristic, and incapable of acting independently? Every word of Jerome's description of the Germans could just be reused today. Oh, and Jerome also describes a common German tradition that I was unaware of called the Mensur. I assume I'm mispronouncing that. I have no idea. Anyway, I would guess this tradition probably came to an end after World War I when the monarchy fell, but I didn't look into that. But this is a fencing duel. As Jerome described it, it sounds as if the rules do not allow the contestants to dodge any blows. You can defend by blocking with your sword, but flinching or moving aside instinctively is considered disgraceful. And so the contestants stand there hacking pieces of flesh off each other until one guy is too damaged to go on. And each scar that they're left with becomes bragging rights, and apparently all the German chicks dig it. And total tangent. I also learned from this book that 120 years ago, people complained about bullfighting being barbaric. So I guess there really is nothing new under the sun. Anyway, even with my complaints, this was still a good book. Strong start, strong end, middling middle. Still, I will recommend reading it. It's witty, it's wry, it's fun. It's just that the first book, 3 Men in a Boat, was more consistently amusing. By the way, what's a Bummel? Well, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to read the book to find that out. Well, anyway, thanks for listening. As I mentioned, I also reviewed 3 Men in a Boat, and I'll link to that video here in case you haven't listened to that. But otherwise, it's time to move on to the next book, and I'm really not sure which one I'll pick. I have a few in my stack to read, but really I'm kind of debating between Crime and Punishment, Moby Dick, or Shogun. So why don't you comment below and let me know which one you think I should pick up next. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.